So today I'd like to talk to you all about my journey transitioning from public education, which I attended up until my sophomore year, into self-directed learning at Bucks Learning Cooperative. Um, I've always found that there's magic in performing arts. And I've been in theater basically since I was about 6. I've been raised in it. And I think we've all been there in the theater, watching someone on stage, totally mesmerized, thinking how they did it. And for me, that really encouraged me to go and seek out and try to figure out how to do it and how to really master the craft of acting. And so I want to be an actor when I grow up, if you didn't gather that yet. And so one of the most respected acting teachers and one whose methods we still use today is Konstantin Stanislavski. And he said, create your own method. Don't depend slavishly on mine. Make up something that'll work for you, but keep breaking traditions, I beg you. And to me, that quote serves as the perfect metaphor for self-directed learning and my journey towards self-discovery as an actor and as a student. My road towards education has definitely been rocky. I've always enjoyed learning, and I've always enjoyed education. I've always had an open mind, and I've always liked to be creative. But I noticed in school there was this subliminal destruction of creativity, and there was this total block for self-discovery. It's not possible within the setup way of education right now. So at first I didn't hate school at all. I loved the library because it was full of books, very mysterious when you're little. And I loved art class where we learned about Van Gogh and all the classic painters. But I didn't enjoy math and science because I couldn't understand the basic concepts of computation. I really couldn't grasp it. And in school, there's so much pressure to meet the standards on teachers that there's really not enough time to discuss these concepts. So I had one experience in 3rd grade where I was asked the simple question 2 times 2, and I couldn't answer it. I froze, and the teacher told me not to be a retard and to answer the question. And I couldn't believe it. I was totally taken back, and I froze. And I looked around as 30 other 8-year-olds stared at me and laughed because the teacher said a bad word. And from then on, I was totally, I just hated math and science, and I hated school, and I knew I didn't like being there. I felt really helpless, and you have that feeling where a lump of tension swells in your throat, and I held back my tears though, and I used humor to cope, and I laughed along with the other students, and that made me feel better at the moment. But soon the tears caught up to me, and later on in my education, I would come home crying, like because of the standardized tests and because of all the homework, and really, that's what it comes down to, is tears. But I knew it couldn't be the only way, and I knew that there was a different way, and it was always in the back of my mind, even because I didn't even realize that this existed until last year. So last year when I was in school, when it all came to a head, I had one experience with another teacher who told the whole class, my whole math class, that if we didn't get math and science degrees, that we wouldn't succeed in life. I was so angry once again. I was very frustrated and sad once again, and I couldn't believe that the teacher had told us that the only way we would succeed is if we chose the right major in school. And really what it does is it sets up students to base their happiness and all their self-worth on these grades so that they get into the right college. It's just not a system to work from, especially when you already consider yourself a creative person like I do. and so it really just crushed my self-worth. Uh, I noticed this pessimistic attitude that teachers and students both had, and it's nobody's fault because the system was started so long ago. But I realized that that the problem is that it's a huge issue that's ignored by the school. It's completely ignored. I asked my guidance counselors, my teachers who I got along with, what I could do and how I could start to enjoy school, but they had no answer. So I was told by a friend to check out Princeton Learning Cooperative. And when I found out about Princeton Learning Cooperative and self-directed education, I thought if I could design a system from scratch, this would be it. I learned at Bucks Learning Cooperative, I learned how intriguing math and sciences could be. I learned that I really actually did enjoy it, sitting there with a room full of 12 to 17-year-olds. You know, we're not separated by age. We're not told to learn all this information within 1 year, and there's no pressure whatsoever. It's really just a system based on love instead of fear. And that's really my whole point of this speech, is that what self-directed learning does is creates a platform for self-discovery to occur, rather than just basing all your self-worth on grades and tests. And for society to thrive, we must train adults, the next generation of adults, to have this self-perpetuating thirst for knowledge, which will guide them towards their passions and their goals. But public education isn't doing this for us. But the most important thing that I learned from my Bucks Learning Cooperative education is that I now truly have creative freedom in my life, which I didn't have in public education. In public education, I was expected to follow the line reading, whereas in Bucks Learning Cooperative, I'm encouraged to say the line on my own differently every single time, like I do in rehearsals as an actor. At Bucks Learning Cooperative, I learned my geometry class, which I discovered I loved, which is where I discovered I loved math and science. So I discovered that I changed it into a sacred geometry class, which discusses the universal oneness, so to speak, and the connectedness of all these different religions. And it really is another moment where I think it serves as a metaphor for just how fateful life can be, and how if I didn't hear about this, I would be, I don't know where I'd be. Last year I wanted to drop out, and last year I couldn't do my school play because my grades weren't good enough. But now I'm thriving. I'm doing more than ever. I just did 3 plays. I have 1 more coming up, and they're all in a row. But at Bucks Learning Cooperative, I have time to look at my lines, and it's really my career, or really my passion and my true goal in life, is the first obligation at school, rather than it being set aside for after school. And that's what I truly appreciate, and I truly appreciate all the support that I'm constantly getting, and I'm constantly being built up. And again, it's because it's on a foundation of love and not fear, which is what school is based on. In Bucks Learning Cooperative, I can simultaneously grow my spiritual knowledge, which is very important to me, and my academic knowledge. I'm fascinated by sacred geometry. I learn more every day about whatever I want through the internet and through books and through just observing silently in Paul's nature class. Just observing nature. It's crazy how much you can learn from just sitting in silence and just learning to live mindfully, and really learning to live and learn from a place of love rather than fear. And what I really want to get across is that education doesn't have to be fear-based, And what I wish I could tell all of my peers at school who shared the same anger, the same hatred, the same pain, and all the students who went through all those tears, I'd like to tell them that there is another option, and there is a growing movement for self-directed education. And I'm happy to be a pioneer for that. Thank you.